You know the feeling, right? Your phone's been quiet all day, and then bam, it lights up with a call from a number you don't recognize. Your heart does a little jump, your stomach flips, and you've got about 2 seconds to decide answer it or just let it go to voicemail. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, trust me, you are not alone. So let's get into why that happens.
So, here's the big question. Why? Why does this little device, something that's supposed to connect us, so often kick off a genuine, physical, fight-or-flight response? It feels kind of weird and irrational, but there's actually a fascinating reason for it rooted in psychology.
And the first thing you need to know is this. If you feel this way, it is not a character flaw. You're not lazy or rude or antisocial. Nope. It's a super common psychological response that has everything to do with the way your brain is actually wired for communication. Okay, so let's get into the science of it all. What's actually going on up there that makes a simple phone call feel like such a heavy lift? Think about it. When we're talking to someone in person, face-to-face, our brains are getting this constant stream of information. We see their body language, their tiny little micro-expressions, all the visual cues. But on the phone, all of that just vanishes. We're left with just the sound of their voice, which forces our brain to work way harder to figure out what's going on.
And this extra mental gymnastics actually has a name. It's called cognitive load. It's the work your brain is doing behind the scenes, scrambling to fill in all those missing pieces of visual information. It's basically working double time trying to figure out what a pause means, or a sigh, or a slight change in tone. And honestly, it can be absolutely exhausting.
You know how sometimes even simple small talk can feel like a performance? Well, a phone call is like being shoved onto an even bigger, more demanding stage, except you're blindfolded. You have to perform your lines without ever seeing the audience's reaction. So, yeah, no wonder it feels so draining.
So, now that we get the science, let's talk about how this anxiety actually plays out. It turns out that people who really don't like phone calls tend to fall into one of three pretty distinct categories. As I go through them, see if one of them sounds a little bit like you.
We're going to meet the visual processor, who really needs to see it to believe it. Then there's the trapped host, who feels like a call is a total intrusion. And finally, the textual perfectionist, who wants every word to be just right.
All right, first up, the visual processor. For this type of person, it really all boils down to a fundamental need to see who they're talking to.
See, for the visual processor, a huge part of communication is about feeling safe and building trust, and that comes from seeing faces. Their brain is this incredible pattern recognition machine, and it's always scanning for a smile, a frown, a nod, eye contact, you name it. Take away that visual feedback, and they feel like they're turning to navigate a conversation completely blind. And that uncertainty, that's a massive source of anxiety.
Okay, let's move on to our second personality, the trapped host. Now for this person, the anxiety isn't so much about missing cues, it's about a complete and total loss of control.
A phone call can feel like a serious intrusion, you know? It's like someone just showing up at your front door, unannounced. You feel like you have to let them in, but you have absolutely no idea how long they're planning to stay. There's just no easy way out. And that feeling of being held captive, of being socially obligated to stay on the line until the other person decides the conversation is over, that's the core of their anxiety.
And finally, that brings us to our third profile, the textual perfectionist. This one is a really modern kind of phone anxiety, pretty much born from our love of texting and messaging apps. This person absolutely thrives on having control over their own words. Texting and email let them think, draft, reread, and carefully edit their personality into the perfect little package. But a phone call? Oh, that's pure improv. It's a live performance with no script, and for the textual perfectionist, the fear of saying the wrong thing or stumbling over their words in the moment is just completely overwhelming. So after diving into the science and looking at these three different personalities, what does this all really mean? Let's tie it all together. What we've basically seen is that phone anxiety isn't just one simple thing. It comes from very real places, either the sheer mental effort of trying to talk without any visual cues, that deep psychological discomfort of feeling trapped in an interaction, or just a strong preference for the control and precision that you get from writing things down. And you know what? Just recognizing which one of these is driving your feelings, that's a huge first step. This isn't about trying to force yourself to love phone calls. It's just about understanding why you feel the way you do. It's not a flaw, it's just your communication style. Which leaves us with one last question for you to think about. After hearing about these profiles, the visual processor, the trapped host, or the textual perfectionist, which one sounds the most like you?